Darkness has a voice. It whispers secrets only one boy can see. This Christmas, Hawkins faces its final nightmare, and Will's last vision might change everything. The night hangs heavy over Hawkins. Quiet and still, yet something feels off. Streetlights flicker as if struggling to stay alive, casting long shadows that twist and bend across empty sidewalks. The wind moves silently through abandoned playgrounds, nudging swings that sway gently, alone, without a single child to push. Fog curls between the lampposts like smoke from another world, obscuring the edges of buildings and hiding shapes that seem just beyond sight. A street corner shows a lone bicycle lying on its side, wheels spinning slowly as if someone had vanished moments before. There is a sense of waiting, a tension that creeps through the town like a living thing. Every window, every doorway, every alley seems alive with the unknown. The air is thick with something unspoken, a presence that watches, waits, and listens. The faint hum of electricity in the wires above is suddenly pierced by an unsteady flicker, making shadows dance violently across cracked walls. The camera moves slowly, gliding past empty streets, each step revealing more of the unsettling quiet. Leaves rustle with no wind, shadows stretch unnaturally, and distant echoes seem to mimic voices, whispering words that vanish before they can be understood. There's an abandoned house at the end of the street, its windows dark, yet a soft glow flickers inside, almost like a heartbeat. From this darkness, a faint shape moves in the fog, only noticeable when it passes the light, creating a fleeting silhouette that disappears before it can be examined. The air grows colder with every step, and the quiet is no longer peaceful. It feels predatory, like the night itself is watching, waiting for the first sign of fear. In the distance, a faint, ghostly laughter floats through the streets, echoing off empty buildings, mixing with the wind in a way that makes the skin crawl. A single swing creaks slowly, the metal groaning under an invisible weight, turning gently as though pushed by a hand that cannot be seen. The fog thickens, making every familiar corner unfamiliar, every shadow a possible threat. Even the trees seem to lean in, branches reaching like long fingers, scratching at the edges of the street. A broken street sign sways, spelling letters that distort in the mist, hinting at warnings the town itself cannot voice. The camera glides past the playground, showing slides and seesaws frozen in eerie stillness, their colors muted and ghostly under the dim light. The hum of electricity grows louder, almost like a pulse, sensing with the distant whispers carried by the wind. Shadows shift faster now, merging and separating, teasing shapes that feel alive. Watching the empty streets, the sense of dread grows heavier with every passing second, as if Hawkins itself is holding its breath, waiting for something unstoppable to arrive. Every detail is magnified: the creak of metal, the rustle of leaves, the distant crack of a branch under unseen footsteps. A faint mist curls around the tires of abandoned cars, shimmering under the weak streetlights, hinting at something lurking. Beneath, the camera pans slowly toward the horizon where the town ends and the woods begin, dark and endless, holding secrets the town was never meant to face. And in the stillness, there is the faintest flicker of movement, almost imperceptible. A shadow crossing a distant wall, too quick to follow, but enough to remind that nothing here is safe. The night, once ordinary, is now alive, breathing with a presence unseen but deeply felt, setting the stage for a story that will pull Hawkins and its people into darkness deeper than they've ever known. And the world shifts suddenly, as if reality itself has cracked open. Will runs, but not through Hawkins, as anyone knows it. Everything is distorted, warped, like a reflection in shattered glass. The air is thick and sticky, dark shadows curling around every corner, crawling along walls, and stretching across floors that shouldn't exist. Shapes move at the edges of his vision, flickering in and out, never quite revealing themselves. He turns a corner, and the street he just came from disappears behind him, replaced by a long, narrow hallway that seems to stretch infinitely, lined with doors that groan and shift like living things. Every step echoes strangely, but it isn't. His footfall, he hears it's something beneath him, a soft, wet squelch, like the ground itself is breathing. The air smells of damp earth, burnt metal, and something sweetly rotten, a smell that sticks to his skin, making him shiver. Shadows twist into forms resembling people he knows but aren't quite right, a fleeting glimpse of. Mycor, at least. Something like him stares blankly from across the hallway, eyes hollow, faceless, then vanishes into the wall. Will's chest tightens as he turns and sees the sky through a shattered window, purple and black, streaked with lightning that cracks silently, illuminating shapes moving above him like a storm of crawling monsters. The sound is muted, distant, like underwater, but the vibrations settle deep in his chest. He runs again, faster, and the floor beneath him ripples as if it's liquid, threatening to swallow him. He passes a mirror, and for a fraction of a second, his reflection isn't his own eyes, wider, darker, shadow tendrils curling around his neck, trying to pull him in. The mirror shatters, leaving only a black void that seems to reach outward. He stops. Every hair on his body stands on end. The corridor head ripples again, warping and twisting until it looks like it's bleeding, like the world is leaking itself into something else. He hears a whisper, soft at first, like wind through a crack, then louder, urgent, calling his name over and over. The voice sounds like him, yet not, distorted, layered with echoes from another place. He glances down and sees his hands pale, trembling, and for a moment they dissolve into smoke, then snap back, leaving black streaks on his skin as if the shadows are claiming him. He runs past a door slightly ajar, light spilling out in jagged beams inside. Familiar objects float, bikes, books, hats but twisted, melted at the edges, hovering and spinning slowly. Something moves behind them, a shape enormous, shifting like liquid, reaching toward him with countless fingers. He stumbles back, the floor rippling beneath him, and the hallway twists into stairs that descend endlessly into darkness. The walls pulse as if breathing, each beat sending ripples through the air that make his skin crawl. He reaches a doorway at the bottom, light spilling through cracks above, and pauses. Through the opening, he sees a vast void filled with writhing shadows, a landscape that doesn't obey the rules of reality. Mountains float upside down, rivers crawl across the ground like snakes. Trees twist into impossible shapes, and there, at the center, a figure waits. Its shape is obscured, impossible to define, but the presence is undeniable, a gravity that pulls at Will's chest, making it hard to breathe. He steps closer, compelled, terrified. His vision flickers, showing flashes of his friends in danger. Lucas's shadow running, Eleven's hair lifted by invisible wind, Hopper's silhouette slamming a door shut against something unseen. Will blinks, and the scene shifts again, showing the town above, silent and calm, a cruel contrast to the chaos below. He hears another whisper, clearer this time. It's coming. The words wrap around him, echoing in his mind, resonating in his chest, mingling with the pounding of his own heart. The shadow at the center shifts, elongating, tendrils stretching outward as if testing the boundaries of this fractured reality. He feels it in his bones, the sense that everything he loves is in danger. And this vision, this impossible place, is a warning, a glimpse of what awaits if he doesn't act. Panic rises, but he cannot stop. He runs toward the shadow, each step a battle against the distortion of the world around him. The air burns as he moves, and whispers multiply, overlapping voices crying, warning, calling him forward. Light and dark clash violently, the floor cracking and reforming, walls bending like liquid steel. A sudden flash reveals fleeting images. A door slamming, a hand reaching for a friend, an object falling in slow motion, an upside-down sky cracking open. Will's breathing is ragged, his eyes wide, heart hammering, and yet he cannot look away. He knows this is more than a dream, it's a premonition, a last vision. And the fate of Hawkins depends on him understanding it. The shadows surge, and in a heartbeat, the entire scene collapses into darkness, leaving only the echo of his name and the faintest pulse of a heartbeat. a reminder that what he has seen will follow him. And what is coming is unstoppable. The air in Hawkins grows heavier, charged with a presence that presses against the skin, invisible yet undeniable. Shadows twist unnaturally along walls, moving independently of any light source, crawling over bricks and asphalt as if the town itself is alive. The streets are empty, yet every corner, every alley hums with quiet menace, the kind of quiet that screams in the mind. Doors creak open on their own, swinging slowly, inviting and threatening at the same time, while broken windows reflect glimpses of movement, something large, shadowy, slinking just beyond the frame. A gust of wind carries a metallic tang, making the hairs on the back of the neck rise, and with it comes a low, rumbling sound, almost imperceptible at first, like the earth itself moaning in anticipation. In the darkness, a flicker of light reveals the first hint of the Mind Flayer's influence, a tree writhing unnaturally. Branches curling like claws, leaves blackened and twisted, reaching outward toward the emptiness. The ground itself quivers beneath invisible weight, small cracks appearing and spreading, as though the town is fracturing from within. Every familiar street becomes alien, warped by the unseen force, corners bending at impossible angles, sidewalks melting into shadows that pulse and shift. Will's footsteps echo too loudly as he moves, each one swallowed by the oppressive stillness, then followed by a rush of air, as though something is sprinting just behind him. From the darkness, shapes begin to emerge, silhouettes of creatures, their forms grotesque and fluid, moving in ways that defy natural motion. They flicker in and out, never fully visible, but always there, always watching. A chain rattles somewhere in the distance, a door slams shut, and a distant scream stretches and bends in the night, swallowed halfway by the oppressive silence. Will stops for a moment, his chest heaving, sensing the invisible pressure growing heavier. He glances at the streetlights overhead. One flickers violently, sparks dancing before plunging the street into deeper shadow. Shapes converge in the darkness, a mass that rise and shifts, tendrils stretching out, brushing against the walls, testing boundaries. The shadows respond to him, reaching closer with every heartbeat, each pulse of fear drawing them nearer. He turns, catching glimpses of his friend's faceless silhouettes moving through their own corridors of danger. Lucas crouched behind a fence, Eleven's hair lifting as invisible energy hums around her. Hopper's hat lying on the ground as though he had been torn from the scene. Objects begin to twitch and float inexplicably. A bicycle rolls across the street as though guided by unseen hands. A mailbox opens and closes violently, and an abandoned newspaper flutters, the headlines distorting into unreadable gibberish. The street under his feet seems to pulse, each crack widening as shadow tendrils leak outward, brushing against the walls, reaching toward him. Every instinct screams to flee, yet some force compels him to move forward, deeper into the chaos. From above, lights flicker violently, casting broken shadows on buildings, revealing grotesque shapes for fleeting moments, humanoid figures elongated and bent, their faces obscured, disappearing before recognition is possible. A sudden gust carries whispers, layered and overlapping, voices speaking in tongues he can almost understand, repeating, "It comes, it comes, it comes." The sound grows louder, echoing off walls and into alleys, merging with the low, vibrating hum that rattles teeth and bones. Will steps forward, and the ground beneath him ripples like water, cracks opening in jagged patterns, glowing faintly red as if something alive waits below. From the void, tendrils lash outward, brushing his arms and legs, leaving black streaks in their wake. And he stumbles, regains his footing, heart hammering, eyes darting. The shadows react instantly, moving faster now, converging into shapes both terrifying and incomprehensible. The air thickens further, as if breathing itself has become impossible. Each inhale a struggle, each exhale carrying the weight of unseen horror. He sees a distant doorway glowing faintly with unnatural light, and through it glimpses flickers of Hawkins streets he knows, friends he loves, but all distorted, broken, consumed by darkness. Shapes surge from the cracks in the walls, fingers of shadow lashing out, curling around corners, spreading like ink in water. Will ducks instinctively, feeling a tendril brush his shoulder, cold and heavy, leaving streaks of black behind. The sky above cracks open with silent lightning, illuminating twisted forms for a heartbeat before plunging everything back into darkness. Objects in the street animate with intent. A bicycle tumbles over, a trash can spins, doors swing violently, each movement choreographed by some unseen hand. Whispers rise into a cacophony, voices overlapping, merging, screaming in distorted harmony. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. His heartbeat sinks with the pulse of the darkness, fear gripping him. Yet a strange determination forces him forward. Each step is mirrored by shadowy figures, each breath chased by unseen fingers. The entire town seems to be a battlefield of light and shadow. The boundaries between reality and nightmare dissolving as the mind flares influence spreads, reaching into every street, every alley, every corner. And through it all, Will moves, running, dodging, witnessing horrors faceless yet intimately familiar, the sense of impending doom pressing ever closer. The darkness is no longer just around him, it is inside him, whispering promises of despair, stretching its tendrils toward everything he loves, preparing Hawkins for a confrontation that may be too terrible to survive. Every familiar landmark twists into alien shapes, every object becomes threatening, and the town itself seems to groan under the weight of something unimaginable. As he reaches the center of the chaos, the shadows pulse violently, the ground cracks wider, and the air vibrates with a single thought: the threat has arrived. And nothing in Hawkins will ever be the same. The town feels alive with tension, streets trembling under the weight of unseen forces. Hawkins is no longer familiar. Familiar corners and alleys now twist into strange angles, shadows creeping along walls like thick liquid. In this chaos, the group moves, unseen but determined, each step measured, careful, yet resolute. The camera follows the first silhouette of figure crouching low, hands brushing against cracked brick as if testing the stability of the world beneath them. A backpack swings gently from the shoulder, and objects within jostle as though aware of the danger lurking beyond every corner. The air vibrates with low hums and distant whispers, warning voices carried on the wind, voices that seem to come from inside the mind as much as the streets themselves. The figure pauses, reaching toward an abandoned fence. Hands brush against the rough wood, leaving faint streaks in the dim light. A second silhouette approaches, moving with purpose, footsteps light but steady. Items are checked, weapons readied, metal glinting faintly in broken streetlights, straps tightening, bags slung carefully, all movement precise and deliberate. No faces are visible. Only body language tells the story of tension, fear, and determination. Around them, the world bends and pulses, shadows creeping closer, twisting into shapes almost human, almost monstrous, disappearing when confronted directly. A subtle flicker of light reveals floating objects, a newspaper twirling slowly, a bike rolling with no one in sight, and an old baseball hat hovering midair as though guided by invisible hands. The figures pause, reacting to the movement, the tension visible even without faces, shoulders stiff, bodies leaning forward as they assess threats that cannot be fully seen. A faint glow illuminates one silhouette's hands, a flash of power, subtle but undeniable, energy crackling softly as if preparing for action. The shadows around respond instantly, tendrils stretching toward the glow, recoiling only slightly before surging again, testing the boundaries of the unknown. Objects in the streets animate unpredictably, tossed by invisible forces, trash cans rolling violently, signs swaying, doors creaking open and shut as though breathing. The team moves together, a fluid motion weaving between debris, navigating streets that shift and pulse beneath their feet. The air carries the scent of damp earth, metal, and something sweetly decayed, an invisible perfume of danger that clings to every movement. One silhouette stops, crouching beside a cracked window, peering through the distorted glass into the empty street beyond. Shapes flicker inside a flicker of Lucas, a shadowed outline of 11 lifting a hand as though summoning a force that bends reality. Another figure passes, dragging a crate across the ground, the scrape echoing unnaturally, vibrating along walls and into the ears. A sudden shadow streaks past the corner of the camera's vision. The silhouettes react instantly, ducking, running themselves. The world seems to hold its breath, the tension tightening around them like a vice. They move through the town with silent determination, glancing at each other's faceless forms, relying on instincts honed through countless dangers.